Logan, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and man, do I have to apologize. We started out so good doing a daily headlines report, but as everybody knows, life gets in the way, and I may have to change this from daily headlines report to uh, headlines report when I can find the time to get these out. But with that, let me just go ahead and jump right on into this for the sake of time. It's been a few days, and I'm going to do everything I can to try and compress as much as I can. So, first things first, and again, in no particular order. So, there was the United States Air Force has carried out new airstrikes in Somalia. Well, that's great news. Nothing like us being involved bombing more places. So yeah, there were some reasons behind that and whatnot. Don't get me wrong on it, but uh, again, here we go. How many more things do need to happen or people need to see before it is an official world war? So we'll see. Next, the leader of Hezbollah has come out and announced that there is a new group forming, and this one is going to be called the Kurdistan Hezbollah. So nothing special in that name. It's going to be another Hezbollah arm in Kurdistan. So for kind of the people that say that Hezbollah is nothing and they're nothing to be worried about, and it's just a group of ragtag bunch of make believe militia people. They're expanding. So maybe we should take it a little bit more serious than they're just nothing. Okay, so next, The Hague did come out and make its decision. Now, in this was South Africa versus Israel. South Africa was suing, alleging that Israel was performing genocide on Palestine. Went through all the different court things and whatnot. Now, it didn't come down as a surprise on what it was on the decision. So, in a 15-2 ruling, so that's a pretty significant ruling, looks like it was found in favor of South Africa. Now, this doesn't do a whole lot. Basically, it is kind of a slap on the wrist. Israel has to report within 30 days of what they're doing to show that they're not committing genocide. So I don't know if it's technically ruled in favor of South Africa with that. If a country really was committing genocide, I think it'd be a much harsher ruling. So it's interesting to see how this came out. Another side note is that South Africa vowed that if they won this, that they would also go after the countries that were helping Israel do this, which would include the United States. So we'll see if that actually comes about. The whole thing's just, it's interesting to notate. I don't quite know how to take it all, but I'm definitely kind of looking into it. I think there's something more than meets the eye on all this. So probably there's a chance that we're going to re-bring this back up. Next, there was a British ship that was carrying jet fuel that was hit by the Houthis. There was a lot of talk about whether or not this thing was actually going to sink. There was a direct hit, huge explosion, fire, whatnot. I'm not entirely sure if it sank. I couldn't find a legitimate source that says it did. There's a lot that said nothing happened. There's a lot that said, this thing's already on the bottom of the ocean. But everybody kind of agrees that it was hit. So we'll stick with that for the moment. Next, the U.S., for the first time in 15 years, has announced plans to redeploy nuclear weapons to Britain. Okay, well, that's a way to de-escalate things. Let's just move a whole bunch of nukes all over the world. Now, this is followed by the White House coming out and saying that they are suspending UN agency funding over the allegations that 12 UN employees was involved in the October 7th incident. So that was the Hamas attack. There was a bunch of different things. I know the Fox News reporter kind of went all after Kirby about, why would you still fund it at all if this was true? Kirby responded back saying, you can't go after an entire organization based on a couple of people, which I agree to a certain extent. But this administration's really big into NATO and to the UN and different things like that too. So to suspend this is odd. So again, I think there might be something more to meeting the eye on this than just what's on the surface. Next, and this one kind of went a little unnoticed from what I could tell, is that North Korea had some hackers that somehow stole 1 billion, that's one with a B, $1 billion worth of cryptocurrency from the United States. So I don't know if that's embarrassment or you don't want to lay claims that it actually was, true, that it happened. But there's quite a few medias all around the world that are reporting this, just apparently not inside the U.S. So that's an interesting data point. And then here's a good one. So if you felt uneasy at all, maybe this next one will make you feel a little bit more safe. So this was posted on social media. There's video evidence of this. Climate activists have thrown soup on the Mona Lisa. Now, if that doesn't make you feel better and sleep better tonight, I don't know what will. I don't understand. I don't know how that helps anybody destroying, a painting or anything like that. Even if you're just saying it's just paint on a canvas, there's nothing special about it. Okay, if that's the way you feel, why destroy it? If it doesn't have any significant value, and if you say it does have significant value, I still don't understand how soup on it changes anything. I don't see how anybody's going to be like, oh no, you threw soup on this painting. We're going to bow down and give you everything that you're demanding. Okay, it's just not how the real world works. But let's move away from there. So Australia joins talks about being in a potential war as they start throwing around the word conscription. Now, and a side note about this, over the weekend, Iran has seized an Australian oil tanker. And this is significant because this was diesel fuel headed to Australia. And Australia only holds about 12 to 14 days worth of diesel reserves. So for them not to get this shipment is pretty significant, especially as they're throwing around the talks about we need to beef up our military and then do conscription and start doing all this to get ready. It's pretty big, so we'll see what comes out. Next, there was a drone attack that has killed 3 U.S. soldiers and wounded up to, numbers are still changing. The last I saw was 35, so we're going to say 35 plus for now. And this happened on the border of Jordan and Syria. Now, the Pentagon has come out and confirmed that this actually happened. And they're saying that this new attack, because of the wounded and the dead, that this definitely crosses a red line. And then I saw shortly after everybody's favorite Lindsey Graham come out with the big letters on X saying "Hit Iran now, hit them hard." Okay, it's nothing about Mr. Warmonger Graham coming out and saying that. What was a tiny bit surprising to me was not long after the Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, also submitted a letter saying that the U.S. needs to immediately respond and hit Iran. So that's a little bit of an escalating things, if you will. So this seems to be kind of a new thing about everybody wanting to really go after Iran. Keep in mind, whatever you're feeling on whether we should or we shouldn't, You have China and Russia both saying that they very seriously stand behind Iran. So this is kind of that thing. If you mess with one, you're going to mess with everybody. Um, and it shouldn't be one that, deters you. You should always do what's right, but you also have to be smart and strategic. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes about this. Next, this one I want to put out there just because of it's intriguing to me. Maybe you won't find it intriguing. Maybe you'll find it silly, goofy, nonsensical, meaningless, whatever word you want to put on there. I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move in this direction. Okay. So I'm gonna post it right here. Now, this was from Dmitry Medvedev. Okay, and I want you to look on the top there at the date. This was posted 12/26 of 22, not 23, 22. And he said, and I'm gonna read this to you. Civil war will break out in the U.S., California and Texas becoming independent states as a result. Interesting. Texas and Mexico will form an allied state. Interesting. Elon Musk will win the presidential election in a number of states, which, after the new civil wars end, will have been given to the GOP. Now, there's a lot to unpack from that, and we're not really going to get into a whole bunch of it, but I find it interesting that this was posted in 22 and that the two states that have the best chance of seceding and becoming independent would be California and Texas. And right now, Texas is the main center stage of all the talks about them seceding. As far as Texas and Mexico forming an allied state, I don't see that happening. It's possible, I suppose, but I just don't see that. And as far as Elon Musk winning the presidential election, uh, no. I mean, again, it's possible. It definitely is possible. It just no. But again, it was interesting enough for me that I just want to throw it up there. All right, so let's move into the United States here in the homeland. Now, this one here, I have been doing some research on. There has been new exclusions and uncovered expenses that have been added to different American health insurances for this year. And to give you an example, there's an excerpt out of a new insurance policy that says treatment of injury and or disease caused by war, declared or undeclared riot or insurrection. Those will either not be covered or have additional expense to it. Now, why would that all of a sudden matter? That's that whole thing that you've gone 20 years without flood insurance, and all of a sudden somebody comes knocking on your door going, hey, do you want to buy some extra flood insurance? Or, something along those lines. What do you know that I don't know? Never been a problem before for any of this. So, moving on. So, after the Texas thing, okay. So, we all did all that. I did a video on it, was it yesterday? And so, we should all be caught up. But, so, the 24-hour ultimatum from the White House ended. And so far, the only retaliatory thing that we can see from it is that the feds has frozen the liquid natural gas exports from Texas. Now, social media has started showing different pictures and videos that showed that farmers are getting in on this. They're all starting to gather down there on the southern border. And they're going to soon be joined by the truckers. Now, we can get into all this about whether this is a setup, who's behind all this, if this is a good idea, bad idea, if it's going to do anything, not do anything, if this is Civil War 2.0, or if this is all just going to blow over. You can have that debate all you want. Okay, I'm just sitting back and just taking notes and all this. Um, the big thing, though, is to add to the news. So there was a Texas National Guard general that said that there is plans to do a justice march in Washington. And then I saw the rumors that they were going to go ahead and put all this fencing up and all these different uh, military people surrounding the White House. That's not true. Um, I had somebody that was in DC send me something showing that it's all normal. You can go to any sort of live webcam and see that it's all normal, at least as of the last couple of hours. It was all normal. There was no military presence or a heavy law enforcement presence or anything like that I could see or they could see. So now the last part of this one before we move on is that the White House did come out and say that they will shut down the border. They'll 100% shut down the border. Now, that's incorrect if you get into this, but they said they will shut down the border if Congress agrees to pass a 110 billion, again, 110 billion Ukraine package. Now, if you get in there and read that bill, it's not 100% shut down. They're talking about it's got to be a certain number of people crossing over for a certain amount of time, and then you have to get an average, and then once you hit that average, and there was all this red tape and all this different things, and it was never going to get taken to zero, ever. So there was no shutdown. The big thing for me is once I saw, hey, I'll go give the southern border attention if you pass this money. My first thought was, how disgusting is it that the leader of the United States is holding taxpayer money in sort of a blackmail scheme of you do this, I'll do this. And then it was even dirty, the whole thing. You're not getting anything. You are putting out a headline, and if you actually read it, no, nothing is going to happen down there. And the other side was going to get a whole bunch of money. It's gross. It's disgusting. It's basic politics, unfortunately. But this is the kind of stuff that, is the corruption. This is what the average everyday, this is what you and me, Mom, Paul, and everybody else, this is what we're sick and tired of, is all this, political talk, and it's all nonsense. It's all for show. It's a whole bunch of headlines. And at the end of the day, more comes out of our paycheck to go overseas and into somebody else's back pocket. And it seems like every year when you file your taxes, you go from paying 10% to 12% to 15 to 18 to 20 to 25, and your paycheck starts getting smaller. And then with inflation, your money is worth less. And so, at some point in time, the middle class is going to be gone. You're going to shrink it out of existence to that point of you will own nothing and be happy about it. Now, we can get into all sorts of different reasons and things like that, but that's not the point of this show. So with that, let me move on. A couple of things to round this show out is that the U.S. Navy has dropped the requirements to have recruits have a high school diploma or a GED. So the Navy cannot hit their numbers, and that's the best plan that they can do so far is you can be a high school dropout with no GED and still be fit to join the U.S. Navy. So, and then the sad part is they did an interview, and whoever they interviewed said, even with this, they still don't see that they're going to meet the requirements. So I'm not even sure why you're doing it. I'd like to see the numbers after maybe 6 months or a year to see if this even moves the needle, which I doubt it does. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was Alabama did become the first state to carry out its execution by nitrogen. That was an interesting one if you didn't know about it. There was one that they went in and did an interview with the person that was to be executed, or did get executed, I should say. And there was a bunch of whining and crying about I didn't want to feel pain and this and that and everything. And it goes back to uh, while I tried to listen to that, while this person was trying to get self pity about that young lady who stabbed her boyfriend 100 and whatever times and killed him, and because she was high and whatever else, um, basically got off with what 100 hours of community service and some probation for murder. This guy was convicted of murder to the point that he got the death penalty, and then wants to whine and cry like, no, the person you murdered didn't get painless, uh, death and things like that. You just went in there and took their life. Uh, you were judged by your peers and found guilty, and sorry. Uh, yeah, nitrogen seems okay by me, but then again, who am I? So, but that's it. That's what I've got for you guys today. I tried to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. I have a bunch of different things in the works. We have some different requests I'm working on. I'm working on a couple of other different types of shows and different things. Plus, there was a lot of interviews over the weekend. Still more interviews coming up. So we are busy, busy, busy. So you guys are new here, welcome. We have picked up quite a few subscribers. So if this is your first time, welcome. Feel free to comment, do all the fun YouTube things, hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. That way you can be notified for all future content that will be put out. And with that, stay tuned because there's definitely more information to come. If you made it to this part in the video, guess what? You rock. Appreciate you guys. And then if you're not new here, say it with me now. Above all else, please remember to remain united because we're all prepping in this together.